Who is the secret database administrator behind Dataverse? The one who keeps it indexed, replicated, optimized, and secure? Maya Dumesh shares the automation behind Dataverse that makes it your virtual DBA today on PowerCat Live. Welcome to PowerCat Live. My name is Phil Topness with the PowerCat team, and today I'm here with Maya Dumesh, Principal Group Program Manager with the Dataverse team. Hey, Maya.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So before we start getting into the deep inside Dataverse where you work, talk a little bit about your role and how you got onto this team.
Oh, I have graduated from UW with a computer science degree and was fortunate enough to be a part of the SQL product unit, and I worked on SQL 2000 and SQL 2005 as an engineer. I have worked in the industry after I left Microsoft and spent some time on many different types of storages, been engineer, DBA, and I've been the architect in the industry. And then I decided to come back to Microsoft. So I rejoined Microsoft at just the right time to be there to see Dynamic CRM app to be separated. So I became a Dataverse team program manager.
So you came back right at the birth of Dataverse, is what you're saying.
Right. That's the moment. Yes, at the CDS. Not that.
CDS. Oh, right. CDS. Yeah. I forgot I had another name. It's probably the only name it'll ever have.
Yeah.
Sure. So let's talk about then Dataverse, right? People often think Dataverse database. It's not just like a replacement for Azure SQL. It's more. Talk about what's in it.
If you look at the Dataverse, you can see what's in the box. And it's much more than the data storage itself. As you can see, we have security, which is the gates into going into the Dataverse. We have authentication, authorization, and role-based security associated with Dataverse. This is the only way to come in and see your data. We have a logic layer, we have a data layer, but more importantly, and what we are talking about today is a storage layer where we have both relational and non-relational data stores, Cosmos DB, and we also have Azure Cognitive Search, which is not the same thing as Find, but an interesting new way to be able to provide search capabilities within our systems.
So that even though you've got things like Azure SQL underneath this, when I access Dataverse, I'm not actually accessing Azure SQL, even though sometimes it looks like it through the TDS endpoint. Is that right?
Absolutely. If you go to the next slide, you will see, and everybody else with us will see that TDS endpoint, as much as a no data endpoint, goes through the authorization and authentication of the Dataverse before it starts going into the data itself. So all access to the Dataverse always goes through the authorization and authentication of the Dataverse, and you would never, ever have access directly to underlying systems. It's actually done for two different reasons. One is, of course, authorization and authentication, but the second reason is that we can change the physical infrastructure underneath at any point of time, and the logical representation will be absolutely the same. So we will not hurt our customers by asking them to change their code.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, so that you can make improvements underneath the covers.
Yes, that's the reasoning behind that. One of the reasons behind that.
This next slide that you brought, this actually looks a lot like SQL Server. And so for once and for all, answer the question, even though I'm running SQL, reading Dataverse tables, I'm not actually running SQL. Is this right?
That's right. In this particular case, it looks like you're looking at the SQL, but in the absolute sense, you are connecting to the Dataverse. This is why you cannot actually see most of the functions that happen to be system functions of Azure SQL, because we cannot replicate those. And you cannot see metadata functions as well. But most of the Transact SQL is available through the Dataverse SQL, and there's capabilities of the Dataverse SQL that you can always see online.
Talk a little bit then about the different storage types used, right? We've been talking about Azure SQL, but there's Blob and Cosmos. Why and how do those all come together?
We started with an Azure SQL because the Dynamics
Sure.
365 was the Azure SQL based or SQL based application. But as we went and started to look at the landscape of the different data storages
Yeah.
that people will need, we realized that storing such things as files inside the Azure SQL kind of didn't make sense.
Right.
Your performance suffers, your ability to provide good indexing suffers because the data is not really a relational type of data. So we introduced the Azure Blob for that purpose. All the files that are stored within the Dataverse are pointed to the Azure Blob location, and the pointer to that location is what's stored in Azure SQL. As we went ahead and started to look at what else is needed, we realized that we don't have enough flexibility in our system. So we also included the Cosmos DB for other needed things such as IoT data. And as we started to look ahead, we realized that search is not the same as find. So search is over many different entities in many different locations, including your file store.
So you've talked about a relatively complex infrastructure, Azure SQL and Blob and Cosmos all coming together in what we see as like a single Dataverse environment. How do you manage and scale all this?
We have several different services associated with making sure that maintenance and sub-scaling happens on all of our servers at the same time. So we do analytics to help our customers get the most of the data stores. We make sure that the maintenance is done to all the associated indexes. There's no fragmentations of the indexes. We shrink the databases and rebuild most of the environment after big bulk inserts or bulk deletes very quickly. We do the tuning of the infrastructure. We work with Azure SQL actually directly to make sure that what we are seeing within our systems align with what they would expect the Azure SQL to behave in terms of tuning, and make sure that we are creating the most out of that. We're doing monitoring and scaling at all times to make sure that our customers feel like they're in the cloud and have no issues with their scaling capabilities of their servers.
And that's interesting because I mean, a lot of this like is built on Azure. So technically someone could go out and, build their own Dataverse, although it would take a little bit of work. And so if I was to build my own Dataverse in Azure, and I promise I'm not thinking about this, but if I were, what are some of the other things that I would probably forget to do that Dataverse already does for me?
Well, the other things that we're doing that we didn't talk about yet is reliability and resiliency. We're making sure that there is a redundancy in our cloud infrastructure in such a way that there's continuous stability. There's always a secondary in all the layers of capabilities of the Dataverse. And if something to happen, and nothing ever happens to our geo centers, but if something to happen to our geo centers, we also have a zone redundancy where the whole Dataverse environment moves to the other region. And therefore, our customers should not see a lot of interruption in service.
And your teammate Sri gave us a deeper dive on how that works. I'll link to it right here in the corner. So Dataverse has been around for so long, previously Common Data Service and Dynamics before then, as you mentioned. Are there still features coming? Are you still evolving the product?
Absolutely. We're still thinking about new and exciting features that we can bring to the Dataverse. One of the interesting one that I think we can talk about is archival. We are thinking of making sure that the customers can store data for long periods of time or indefinitely. And we will use Data Lake to store that data. That data also will be accessible through the read-only capabilities. So there will be a way to create the applications with an access to the archival data as well. So it's not just for analytics, it's archival data for your application.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I know I've worked with customers that have lots and lots of data, so being able to archive it easily in Dataverse, it would be really, really useful.
Absolutely. We are looking forward, and we have a lot of different customers asking about it all the time. So very excited about this feature.
Well, Maya, thanks for sharing all the work that happens behind the scenes when I click new on a Dataverse environment. And thanks for coming on PowerGrad Live.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before you go, we are making new videos every week. Click this Microsoft logo to subscribe and you'll be the first to see them. And look over here for a couple of videos that can make you a Power Platform expert.